Okay, well, we are back. Here's where we're at right now with this Max puppet. Again, as you can see, he's similar but not exactly like Eddie. But you can kind of see where the different forms are starting to come together. Um, this would be his chest, and then where it transitions into the neck. I am going to make the outer neck area that kind of gives it a little support here when the fur goes on. It may not be necessary, but I like to have just a little bit extra support back there if I can help it. So I got some of this jersey mesh, which is actually stretchy in both ways, both directions. And let me change it back to this. I am going to measure using my tape the distance from basically the widest part down here from seam to seam, and that comes in at about 8 inches. I'm actually going to do it 7 inches because there is a stretch and I want it to be a little tighter at the neck. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this over. And one of the rare times when I actually use my sewing machine. I have kind of a weird setup here where like I have all my all my tools up on little like all the computer and cameras and everything, sound stuff, all up on racks above the table. So there's not a whole lot of space to work, but there's just enough. Where is my ruler? Okay, so I went about 7.5 inches for the, because I want to be able to sew it at 7 to give us a 14-inch. Okay, so like I said in one of the earlier videos, I should get one of those rolling wheel things, but that works just as well. Okay. And I usually put a couple of these at the other on the fold as well. Again, I don't know how to sew, but I like having a little bit of stability on both ends if I can help it. And I think this camera is completely blocked by Max's butt. Okay. That's actually what this camera is set up for, is to show my sewing, such as it is. And now it'll be to show off my threading. At least I have a bobbin in here. Actually, I can. I'm only going to use white thread so you can kind of see it. Oh, I still got the walking foot on here. I guess we'll see how this works. Yeah, I almost had it. I should probably use a zigzag stitch, but I can't tell if this is, yeah, okay. Oh. Usually I only use the sewing machine for clothing and inside parts of the puppet. Most of the, just about everything else, or on really cheap puppets. All the insides are usually, all the outside is always done by hand. Okay, so here's my beautiful sewing job on this thing. I'm going to turn it so now the seam is on the inside. Let me take off all this extra string or thread. So now I got this nice little thing. So this stand, which I can clamp to the table, is actually one of my discarded clamps for a computer monitor or a camera mount. But as I've gotten more over the years, I ended up with a few extra of these. And it works really well for a puppet stand. And then it has a threaded part here at the top that, with just a little bit of heat, I was able to affect the thread of this PVC, and then I have like a coupling up here that I've bent into shapes so that I can keep it in place. But anyway, so here's, I think I actually can go over the head with this. So I one of the earlier ones, I pinned it in place. So I pinned this in place so that it's about the right height, and then I'm just going to thread it like a turtle, I guess like a turtleneck. And I'm going to line up that seam in the back. I'm going to put a pin back here. I have a bunch of pins I already put glue on, so I'm going to try and use those. Okay, and then I'm going to put a pin in the front. Actually, I'm going to pin it at the back here on the top. going to actually repin this at the bottom. Ouch. Because I kind of want to do it more towards the center of the back. Give it a little bit of coverage. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to do the front. And the sides. Try and get it more or less even. Okay. And then I'm gonna I probably should have tapered it. I don't think I did on the other one, but I probably should have tapered it. The other one, I mean Eddie. And then it seems to me that I had problems with it kind of being too tight in the front here on Eddie, but I might still at least attach it up to this point. So put a couple more pins in. You guys can't see a darn thing. Okay. Okay, so basically what I need to do is basically, I think, just tighten that up a little bit there. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just more to again, just fill that gap so when I'm patterning it, I have something to pattern to. So now I'm going to put my respirator on. I'm going to glue this, and then I'm going to do the whip stitch around again on both the top and the bottom. Kind of lock it in place. Now I wonder if I should fix this a little bit. I almost feel like I need to, you know what? If I have to, I can make a new one of these, but I kind of feel like I need to sew this up. Okay, I'm going to take out all these pins. So much of puppet building is just solving problems, and you may not solve it on the first try. It's just more important that you solve the problem, or at least figure out something that you can fix on the next one. See, I didn't have a pattern for this part of it on Eddie. I have most of the patterns, but I didn't have this piece. And so because of that, I have forgotten after 2 years exactly how I did it. But I think I did something similar to this. Okay, I'm going to turn it. So this is, okay, so I'm going to turn this right side out again, the wrong side out. Okay, so I think that needs to go like that. Again, there's a lot of stretch to this, so I'm not too worried about it. But at least I don't have to thread this machine again. This machine has been really good to me. It's a Brother Strong and Tough, and I think when I bought it, it was about $230. And I think I saw it recently online for about 180. It's been a really good machine though, and I highly recommend it. There was a reviewer online who sewed through 10 or 12 layers of denim, and that impressed me. Okay, go through this again. So when this goes on, it needs to go on like that. But now I've got a center seam on both the front and the back. It should be a little easier to line it up. It's a little harder to get it over the head, but okay, so I'm going to line up this with the front. And with the back. Wait. Maybe I should line it up with the front. Okay, there's the front. And with the back. It's like a thunder. What do they call those? Thunder vests? And this is probably overkill. I don't know that you need all these extra layers. I say that, but I still put them in just about every puppet I do. Unless it's a head that, like the body and the head are two separate pieces. Whenever I have one that's continuous, I kind of overbuild it here because I tell you, it than to underbuild and have it break. Okay, let's see how that moves. Oh, not sure how that happened. Okay, so that's right. Okay, so he turns he turns one way. This is the back. That's the back there. And that should oh. Okay. So somehow I turned the head when I did it. Let's try this again. Again, it's less about knowing what you're doing and more about knowing how to solve problems. Okay, so that's the butt. Oh, but that should be the front. Okay, let's start all this over again. Okay, so this. I thought this would be easier doing it this way. Okay, that goes on like that. This goes on here. Like that. Okay, so that's that. And then this is, make sure that's not twisted. Okay, that's the front. Okay, there's the back. Because this is just a tube, there should be a little bit of play you can have to get it to work. Like, ouch. Okay. Okay, that's better. All right, so there's basically the way he's going to be situated in there. And then once this is glued in place, I can undo this and it'll just float where it needs to be. But he's got a lot of motion there, which is great. Okay, let me get my respirator on and then glue it in place. We'll open the window and turn on the fan. Okay. So I'm just gonna glue it right through the jersey mesh. Okay, and then we do the same at the top. Okay. And that's all there is to that. We'll let that dry. Probably still pretty stinky in here. Okay. I usually don't like to glue in the house because of Tilly, but I kind of want to show you guys this process. Okay, and back to my wonderful hand sewing. Sure, you're all on the edge of your seats. Okay. So I have these glasses that I sit in here. So I wear ×2 readers. And then on top of that, I have these ×3 readers so that I can see well enough to thread that needle. That's what 50 years of cartooning will do to your eyes. Okay. And I'm just going to stitch this around like I did on the other one. It doesn't have to be anything particularly secure. I mean, the glue is going to hold it, and then this is just to hold the glue in place. If I can see well enough to get it started. There we go. Okay. Mary Nagler always says, that stitch in time saves 9. It's basically every 9 stitches you should tie a knot, so you don't have to. So if it ever comes undone, you only have to redo 9 stitches as opposed to all of the stitches. I try and do it about every inch, but it's a good practice to get into. It also keeps it from getting too it keeps it from getting too jumbled up. Like you can very easily pull on the string too much or the thread too much and cause it to bunch up. It's kind of like you don't want to have it so tight that it impedes the motion of the head, but you want it tight enough that it doesn't, I don't know, look like a gooseneck or something. I don't even know if you can see anything. Well, you're just keeping me company, I guess. So this is basically it as far as the understructure goes. Once I tie up or I sew all these on the top and the bottom, the only other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in his gums because that goes under the fur. And the only other things that go under the fur are the tail mechanics and the ear structure. But I'm going to probably do those after I have the skin on or the fur on, just because I don't know their placement exactly yet. And it's easy enough to just cut a little slit and put those in. Whereas all this stuff, like, so when I was making Eddie originally he didn't have his black lips or black gums. I guess they're more lips. He didn't have them, and I was noticing that the dogs typically have that. And I was over at Joanne's at the time, and I noticed that they had these corded bias tape things. I thought those look just like dog lips, and so I've only done it on Eddie, and I'll show you. But you see the black line there around his lip? That's just that corded bias tape. And you just basically glue it around the lip on here. And then you butt the fur up to it when you glue that on. And it looks like the dog lips. So. And I probably shouldn't have taught you that because that was my signature move. It was almost long enough. Got to get a little bit more thread. I was talking to Charles Yeager online. I hope that's how you say his name. Jager. I was talking to him online just a few minutes ago. I was telling him I want to start doing 2-day puppet builds online. He thought it was a pretty good idea, so I'm going to try and do it. I'm not sure which 2 days I'm going to do it, but I have a lot of projects I need to get done. And if I hold myself to working on them 2 or 3 days a week, that would be great. I have no idea who's going to watch them. Ouch. Okay, I think that's it for that part of it. Okay, now see, I didn't have a chance to tie that one off, so I'm sure it's gonna unravel on me. See if I can. Ouch. Now on Eddie, I know that I had to leave this open, or had to cut it open once I had put them together because it was too tight. But I guess I'm a glutton for punishment because I'm going to tie it up. I'm going to sew it up here too. think that's done for that one. Well, I wonder how long they let these live streams go for. I mean, I've seen the ones like Odin does, where he's like they're chatting away for like 4.5 hours. I kind of think what I'm going to do is I'm going to film the entire build and then also release it as a much shorter video that is just like the highlights. I was trying to do more instructional stuff, but I don't have really a head for it yet. It's hard to be. It's hard for me to be engaging and give information. It's usually just matter of fact or me cracking jokes or whatever. Not both. Okay. I've posted pictures of these builds as I was doing them originally, and so many people have never really thought about or have no concept of what jersey mesh is. It's you can usually find them in thrift stores on old sports jerseys or workout clothes. So that's a good source of it. You can definitely use it for several puppets. I found it online. I used to buy it at Joann's, but number one, Joann's doesn't exist anymore. But number two, they haven't carried this stuff in years. But I did find it online, and you can order it pretty cheap. But I use it all the time. It's a great stretchy, breathable fabric that you don't really have to pattern too much. Okay, so now I can take these out. Now I have the inside liner done, the neck done, the mouth done, the entire inner structure aside from the tail done. And I'm going to put the lips on. And then I think I'm going to pattern, at least try to pattern the body. Now, the body, I can actually use the same pattern to some extent that I have on Eddie, but because I changed the head shape, I'm going to have to redo the head. Okay, so somewhere in this big old box. Here it is. This is the tape I was talking about. I have some packages of it. So it's bias tape maxi piping. So that's what I use for the lips. And I also use it for Mayberry's eyes and a couple other things. But okay, so what you do is I just basically put it right up there to the edge of the mouth. You can either hot glue it or just glue barge cemented in. Just put a pin in like so. And you want to cut it just a little long because it's better for it to be a little long and then cut it off than to be a little short and not have enough. And I only put it on the bottom. I don't put the teeth or the lips on the top because I feel like you never see them, and I think it makes them look a little bit friendlier without a bunch of fangs on the top or whatever. Okay. Gotta open the window again. I'm pretty sure my neighbors think I'm insane. They know I'm in here alone, just talking to myself in the middle of the night. This will be a real quick glue. I think most of the gluing will be done at this point, except for at the lips. When I did this on Eddie, I'd already had it done, and I had to unglue everything and then put this on. Okay. I usually don't use a hairdryer on these things because I've been told that it's not as strong to use a hairdryer, but for this, it's not that big of a deal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start this in the center. And just run it right along this lip here. And then take, these are good. These are Teflon coated Teflon scissors, which you can cut through glue and it won't leave a residue, which is great. Okay. So now when I put the fur on, they'll have a nice black line around it. So, okay. So now, here's where we're at. We've got a nice malleable face, which I like. And I think even with this one, he may be able to put his fingers down in there and kind of scrunch up his brow, which is kind of fun. But we'll see what he does with it. All right. Let me get my stand. This is going to be a long video. So Eddie's original patterns they have all of his spots on it as well. But you can see why does he have, okay, that's the back. You can kind of see how his pattern went together. Like I said, there's a whole brown part that's missing, but I can take this and transfer it to the fabric, so I can at least start there and up the neck, up the lower jaw is the same too. So that's at least a place to start. And I've never done this before. I've done a version of this like this before. Okay, so I need to get some scrap fabric here. Just a second. Okay, so I want the stretch going this way, going widthwise. And then I'm going to get that pattern. Actually, you know what? I have the rest of this pattern. I have the rest of this thing right here. This is the eye. That's that part. Okay, so at least I can kind of trace where it is. The only reason I'm doing this way is because I'm lazy. I don't feel like doing it all again. Okay, that's that. Okay. Okay. It at least gives me a place to start. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin this on. I may end up just having to completely redo this from scratch, but And so far, so good. Okay, so now I take this other half. So I knew that I hadn't altered the bottom jaw pattern. So that's why I knew that I could keep that. But I did alter the upper and the brow. And there aren't all his spots either, which hit a lot of the darts. So basically all I'm doing is I'm matching up the line. I know you guys can't see a darn thing. Oh my gosh. Okay, so now I've got a big pink monstrosity here. Let's see. Come on. Okay, well. Come on. I don't know what this is stuck on here. Oh, did I miss the inner? I think I missed the inner liner. Yeah. There we go. Okay. So now All I'm doing is I'm making it tight across the front here. I'm trying to get it as close to the center line as I can, although it'll all even out when I true it up. I don't usually just do one side. I have done just one side on a couple of occasions, usually on these 2-day puppets. You tend to do stuff like that. Okay, so this is the problem that I had with Eddie, is that his mouth didn't want to shut because it was so tight here. So I think I'm going to give him just a little bit more jowl there. And usually I try to put the dart right where the ears are going to be, so that way I have a place to line up to when I'm putting the ears on. Okay, so that's basically the pattern here. So I go along and I'm going to draw the pattern on both sides, and I'll put some registration marks. Cross out the stuff I don't need. Hi, Tilly. Okay, so now the last thing I'm going to do before I do anything, I'm going to put the registration marks on. And the easiest way to do that is you put a pin in right across the line, and then you draw on both sides of that line, and you do that all the way across. And this is more so that you can line up the two sides. You'll make your own registration marks when you do the final pattern. Hopefully I don't. Okay. Okay, now I have no idea what happened to the cat. It's probably on the floor or something. Okay. All right. So you don't want to put too many registration marks because then you just confuse yourself. There's kind of a happy medium to where you put the registration marks. Okay. Trying to find the ones that have glue on them versus the ones that don't. Should be doing this on my own time. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to cut these guys out. I'm cutting it right on the line. I doubt anyone will get to this point of the video. Okay. one side. I'll do the other side now. Those of you who stuck around this long, prepare to have one of the biggest secrets to how you pattern puppets revealed in just a few minutes. Okay. So these are our fake patterns. Okay, so what you do, you get a piece of paper. And tack it down. You take one side of it and you put it on the paper. And you pin that down. Now, this is the part where most people say, oh, you only have to do one side. But I have found that when you don't do it this way, it doesn't fit as well as it should, because you never can quite find the center line unless you do this, and you don't really get a tight fit all around unless you do this. Now, it doesn't work if you don't have a symmetrical understructure, but it does work about in every other case. So you want a blue pen and a red-ish pen. Oops. Okay. So now on one side, you're going to mark all the registration marks. And there should be a lot more when you do it. And then you're going to trace the entire outside with either the blue or the red pen, or the blue, or you just basically have to have two different pens that you can tell the difference of. So if you wanted to, you could use a Sharpie and a pencil, so you can tell one side from the other. But I usually use a blue and a red one because, as I said, I'm colorblind, and I can at least see both of those colors. Okay, so I did that. Oops. try not to let pins fall on the ground if I can help it. Okay, so there's one side. Done with that one. Now you're going to take the other side and you're going to mark all those tick marks onto the other side. And the best way to do that is to basically just put it behind the, actually, use a black pen. You put it behind the back and you just put your thumb on the top of it, and then you're basically transferring it to the other side. Okay, so now that all those are transferred to the other side, you're going to line this up as best you can with all the tick marks. And they won't all line up, but you do as many as you can. And they'll get close. Because the top and the bottom were basically, they were already trued up, they're going to be pretty close. But because the oh, hi Tilly. So now you're going to take the red pen, in this case dark pink, and you're going to mark all the tick marks on that side. And then we're going to trace around this guy. And this pen's just about dead, so I think I can get rid of that. And I'll switch it to this orange color. It doesn't really matter what color you use as long as you can tell the difference between the two colors. Okay. Tilly's all curled up on the on the leftover fabric. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark all the little ticks real big like that in the center of each one. And you probably should add a couple more where you missed them before. That's probably about right. Okay, so now, last step to make your pattern is what you're going to do is you're actually going to cut it right in between each of these lines. So, like, I'm just going to show you here because this is kind of a difficult point. I'm going to go right in between those pieces and through here. Usually I don't mark it with a pen, but if it makes it easier, go ahead and do that. Looks like a manatee. Okay, so now you're going to get your bad scissors. You're going to cut right along that line. Or if you didn't draw a line, right in between the two color lines. So now I've got this pattern. Max gray fur times 2. Today's date is 3/20, I believe, 24, 25. Okay. I'm going to mark. This is a dart. This is the mouth. And this is the opening. And this should fit exactly that that dog head that we just made. And if you want to, you can take some fabric and make a real, basically transfer this to 2 pieces of fabric and then sew it up on the sewing machine and test fit it. But I'm pretty sure it's going to fit. And if it doesn't, I can make adjustments. But that's basically what that's basically all I'm going to do tonight. But you can kind of see that's the way it's going to fit on there. I don't know if that helps, but no, we'll see. We'll see tomorrow. All right. I'll post some stuff tomorrow.